go through this one more than any of the other 30-plus you've done, why this one's been most challenging.
For us, it's controlling what we can control, kind of taking out Mother Nature during that ice build.
Got it.
We know the sun, rain, wind is kind of our nemesis here. So if we can eliminate that during the build and then just kind of focus on that 3-hour window for game day, that'll give us the best chance to succeed. So this has been, I think, probably the longest planning event for us, the last 2.5, 3 years.
Bolts Nation, welcome to another episode of the Bolts Block Party, powered by our amazing friends at Highlight IPA. I'm super excited to be joined by my cohort, Braydon Coburn, and we are on location today. It's windy, it's chilly. We've taken it out of the studio, and we brought it here to the home of the 2026 NHL Stadium Series at Raymond James Stadium. And we are super excited to have this guy here joining us this afternoon. Derek King, the NHL Vice President of Hockey Operations. I got that correct, Derek?
You got that correct.
I know you were just talking about the weather here, and we know this is the whole reason why we see what's going on behind us and the preparations that have gone into making sure that the weather conditions are under control as much as possible. But you just said it yourself. What is going on with this bipolar weather? Hot, cold, cold, hot.
It's cold. It's nice in the sun, but that wind this morning, it was chilly making our way over to the stadium.
But isn't that good?
I wasn't expecting this.
That's what you were. I mean, that's what you want, though.
It's definitely for game day. This would be great, but
yeah.
For the build, I wouldn't mind if it warmed up a little bit.
Okay.
I wanted to lose a sweatshirt. I had a T-shirt on yesterday and had to throw the sweatshirt on.
Welcome to Tampa in the wintertime, for sure. So, yeah, I'm actually, I just watched, our weather crew here in Tampa, and it looks like that day or the week leading into the Stadium Series, that it's actually looking like it's going to be cold. Like it's going to be
cold is good for us.
50s and 40s.
Great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Especially for our fans who don't get the chance to come outside
right.
and experience hockey in this kind of environment.
Yeah, so that's, for us, obviously, for game day, cold weather, if we can be in the high 50s, 60s, that'll be great.
Yeah.
Obviously do without the wind, but, we'll take whatever we can get. Weather-wise, we're ready.
When do you really start paying attention to the weather? Like forecast, long-range forecast, is that like a week out, 4 days, 5 days?
Yeah, usually about a week out, I'll pay a little bit more attention. It's changing all the time, right? So, like we saw a couple days ago, there was a chance of rain on game day, so we'll follow it, but really those few days before the game, we'll pay really close attention and then kind of come up with our plan of how we're going to, prep for the game once that tent's coming off. So
I want to get into, it always fascinates me, individuals like yourself, now the Vice President of Hockey Operations for the entire NHL. But, Kobe and I like to kind of delve into, the path that got you to this point. Obviously, that's a pretty unique job to have. Obviously, did a little research on your background,
Yeah, you were just driving a Zamboni. They didn't just pluck you off a Zamboni for this job.
Now I'm worried.
No,
a little stressed out.
So, for our, Bolts Nation out there who obviously may not be familiar with you, I mean, how often do you get mistaken for the former Blackhawks coach, like on email threads, like Derek King? Like, does that happen often?
Quite a bit.
Say,
I finally got to meet him when we were in Chicago for the Winter Classic.
Like it took that long?
First time I met him. Yeah, it was great. I've got a few emails, and then I actually got some hotel reservations one day through our travel agent, and I was kind of like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
I haven't booked this trip."
Right.
And then I kind of figured out who it was. So.
Is he getting the same thing though? Is he getting reports
emails
on
I'm not
ice?
sure. My travel's not too exciting like his, but no, it was nice to meet him. Finally, kind of meet him. It was a pretty cool experience.
So you grew up in what they call the Hazel Fridge pierogi capital of Manitoba, as they say, Hazel Ridge, Manitoba.
Yeah.
Near Winnipeg. So obviously you're in that hockey culture from a young age growing up. But yeah, where did your love for obviously hockey and ice operations come into play? I mean, you started driving the Zam when you were 18, at a local hockey rink volunteering. But where did the love, the passion come for the sport and to get into the ice operations world?
Obviously from a young age, playing the sport was great. And then where I grew up, it was a small community. I'm still involved there today. I've got 2 young boys. My oldest, who's 10, he's playing hockey now. So it's nice to kind of go back home and kind of back to your roots where you started. So
sure.
Working at the local arena, And just a love for the game and being around the people and the kids. It's pretty cool to be involved in that. And then when the Jets came back to Winnipeg, I was fortunate enough to get hired by True North Sports and kind of started my career there. And Dan Craig came into our building. We're having some issues with ice conditions back in the day, so I met Dan Craig and we kind of hit it off there. And I kind of laughed because I wouldn't leave him alone. I kept on bugging him to work an outdoor game, and I got to do my first outdoor game in Calgary, which was really cool.
Heritage Classic.
And then from there, it's I've been able to work a number of games. So this will be, I think it's my 33rd outdoor game.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So it's,
and Dan Craig, he's kind of like the godfather of the outdoor games originally, right? He's from Edmonton, known as Dr. Ice, had the fastest ice in Edmonton there for many, many years. And I'm sure he was a huge influence on you.
Oh, he is. He's a super great guy. Like, I owe a lot to Dan and to Mike as well. They're the ones that got me the start in these outdoor games, and it's come a long way now. Working for the league is really a dream come true, and getting to work with everyone that I work with here is pretty special.
So in Hazel Ridge, I was going back. I was trying to find how many NHL players have come from Hazel Ridge.
I don't think there's too many.
And I came to the conclusion that you might be the closest.
Probably the closest. I couldn't make it as a hockey player, so I figured, what's the next best thing?
Right.
We'll make ice. So yeah, it's pretty cool growing up there. Small town. So it's nice to keep close to where I grew up.
Best ice in Manitoba?
Pretty close, I'd say. Yeah,
you got that.
I'm not really there that much anymore, but it's a pretty cool place.
Flood in the backyard for the boys. You got the best ice in the neighborhood?
Well, no, that's probably the most stressful rink I've got to do, and it's been such
the
a
one
busy.
in your backyard?
The backyard rink, and I've got some neighbors that have got some pretty spectacular rinks. It's a smaller rink, but it works for the boys, so they like it.
It does, man. So obviously, Kobe's been a part of. As a player, you played in 2 outdoor games?
2, yeah. Fenway and Citizens Bank Park.
Okay. I've been a part of 5 outdoor games. Seattle, Cary, North Carolina, Fenway Park, Edmonton for the Heritage Classic a few years ago, and Jersey for the Stadium Series, the double back-to-back.
Yeah.
So I've been a part of them myself, so I've seen it from the perspective of what we're seeing right now, from the builds to going from nothing to the concept, and each one of them obviously brings a different challenge. And we know that this one specifically has posed probably the biggest challenge that you've ever faced with, like you said, the weather, and knowing that you're dealing with Tampa, humidity, conditions, you have to be prepared. And the contraption that you and the NHL came up with for this one. Please go through it and who came up with this idea. Obviously, we know Steve Mayer, and you guys always love a challenge, but go through this one more than any of the other 30-plus you've done, why this one's been most challenging.
I think just everything you kind of see going on behind us today, right? You talked about the contraption, that fabric tension building that we're going to set up here. So it's really... For us, it's controlling what we can control, kind of taking out Mother Nature during that ice build.
Got it.
We know the sun, rain, wind is kind of our nemesis here. So if we can eliminate that during the build and then just kind of focus on that 3-hour window for game day, that'll give us the best chance to succeed. So this has been, I think, probably the longest planning event for us, the last 2.5, 3 years from... the Lightning have wanted a game for a long time, which is amazing. The fan base down here is awesome, and obviously with what they've done the last few years with the cup runs. So it's only fitting that we have a game, but we kind of had to think outside of the box. Yeah. And if you talk to Steve Mayer, he's got all kinds of ideas. He's always keeping us on our toes,
of course,
with these different challenges. So it's pretty cool. It's exciting to be here and to start this build. So having that fabric tension building in place is going to be key. And that's kind of a neat story, too. The guys that are involved with GMB, I kind of know from back home. And I was talking to Ryan and Alex the other day, and it was kind of like an airport. I think we both had delayed flights, and we ran into one another, and they saw my luggage tag on my bag, and we started talking, and they're telling me what they were doing. They knew what I was doing, and they're like, hey, if you ever need a tent, we're the guys. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right.
And then the Tampa game came up, and I remember we're in Fenway, and they were changing out all the lighting in Fenway Park, and they had this helicopter come in and lift off all the light trusses and drop it on the field. And so I took a video of that, sent it to Ryan, and I'm like, hey, can we do this with the tent? So the original plan for this tent was to bring in a helicopter and lift it up. I think logistically wise for that, it would be a little tough to do. So, now we're going to dismantle the tents on game day. And that'll take us, most part of the day to get ready.
Okay, that was my next question, because obviously we see how massive they're putting it. Obviously, it's coming in pieces, and they got to assemble it all. And like you said, it's going to be on tracks that cover it. So that was my next question: is how quickly do they disassemble and get it out of the building?
So we're down in Dallas at their office, and we did a couple run-throughs of dismantling the tent.
Yeah.
And the first run-through wasn't too bad. I think we're like 45 minutes to an hour to get a section down.
Okay.
The guys there from GMB I think we've got it down to like 30 minutes now. So obviously working pretty close with BAM Productions as well. We're looking at, hopefully if things go well, probably 30 minutes a section. So the plan on game day, it'll be our game days are long as it is, but this one's going to be super long. We'll have the crane coming in around 4 a.m. and we'll set the crane up.
Okay.
And then obviously with everything else, Steve and the production that he puts on. So we've got a lot of stuff on the field, right? I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be a pretty spectacular show here on game day. So we'll start early, 4 a.m. Crane will come into place. And then by about 6, with all the other equipment, we've got some lifts coming in. We'll start dismantling that building. And then our goal right now is to have it down by about 4 p.m.
Okay.
And then that'll give us a window, to really get ready for the game, depending on what weather we have. If it's, it's going to be warm and sunny, we'll have the rink tarped, which we do at all of our outdoor games.
Right.
So we'll remove the tent, we'll be tarped. And then, there's just so much stuff going on. Now that we have that, we're going to have that tent in place. We're making it hard for a lot of other groups, for broadcasts and that. They usually get all their camera focusing, lighting.
You gotta wait.
We've got player puck tracking, DED calibration. So we're kind of throwing a little bit of a wrench into everything else for some other groups. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to nail down on game day, but we're always up for the challenge. It's exciting.
So minus the tent, if you guys just had to put the rink up, the boards, the refrigeration under the ice, how long does that process take?
So typically from when we get here, so yesterday was day one for us, which, there's a lot of activity going on. We're usually about a 4 to 5 day build before we start making ice. And then the ice making process is about 7 days for us. Here with the tent, we'll be covered. So we'll be able to work around the clock, which is going to be nice. We're bringing in some dehumidification units, HVAC units. So we'll condition the space inside and kind of lock it down. It's going to be a different build because everyone, when they're in the stadium, they can see what's going on.
Right.
But now we're going to hide everything from, from you guys, the media. So, the plan we have, again, it's been a 2.5, 3 year process of putting this together. So you're always just reviewing, what you've got to do each day. And there's a lot of stuff to
logistics involved. I mean, it's next level. I know the NHL's mobile ice plants, the tractor trailers that you guys bring in, the world's largest mobile refrigerated units that house the state-of-the-art ice making equipment, the ice monitoring equipment that they use here to make our NHL caliber sheets of ice. Is that are those refrigeration trucks only in the U.S.? I mean, when you guys travel outside of the country, how are you getting those same kind of units to other countries? I know you've done stuff that you yourself. You built. Is there a country you haven't built a ring in? I guess is more the question I should ask.
Starting to make my way around the country.
Around the world.
It's always exciting, different challenges. We did the games over in Australia, which was pretty unique. We partnered with another company there, so we took our hockey boards and our glass there.
Okay.
But we use it over the system. But our trailers, we've got a warehouse up in Oakville.
Okay.
So just outside of Toronto, so that's where they came from. And it's kind of unique, this game, because we haven't really had an outdoor game where we needed both trucks.
Oh.
So looking at, Tampa and the weather we've seen before in Tampa.
Yeah.
Remember an All-Star game here a couple of years ago in Tampa? We built an outdoor bar out in that park area.
Right. Yeah.
So that was one of my first All-Star games, and I was tasked with this outdoor bar, little bar set up, and we got a rainstorm that afternoon, and all the work of that bar was gone after that rain. So we're like, okay,
lesson learned.
So let's make sure we have some redundancy with some of our equipment. So both trailers, we used them in Miami.
Okay.
Winter Classic.
Yep.
Obviously it closed in. We had a roof. things went fairly smooth for us there. But Tampa here, if we get some nice weather on game day, we're going to be prepared with both trailers. And then obviously all the equipment that goes with it. We've got a newer, we call it a blending valve, where the trucks will feed into, and then all the glycol gets pumped out. And we've got filters and some pump-up boxes and booster pumps. So we've kind of thought about everything. And a lot of this stuff, too, is, back when Dan started, he kind of was thinking ahead of what we need to do. We've got a unique piece of equipment. It's called a crossover valve. So in an outdoor game where we don't have a tent and we tarp, we can actually follow the sun, and we can change the direction of glycol across the rink. So a normal rink, the flow is lengthwise.
Okay.
But right now we're widthwise. That's our shortest run. So outdoor games, when we're dealing with the sun, we'll just make a change on those valves and change our flow. So we've kind of have thought of everything.
Yeah. That's stuff you never think about, or even like.
It's all that behind the scenes stuff, right?
But that's stuff it's intriguing. It's interesting because, again, those are all the variables that you don't even think about. But these guys obviously have thought about every single variable.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, Derek, I don't even know if you're allowed to say, but this is a significant investment that the NHL has put into
for sure.
This equipment and stuff. What would be kind of the neighborhood of, what everything that they've done and this investment to do these outdoor games and this equipment and an ice truck and all this
those pieces of equipment aren't cheap. Unfortunately, we're kind of the department that doesn't really make the money, right? We're the guys spending money.
Though.
We need two trailers. We need some extra equipment. We need another set of tarps. So, we have a pretty tight budget we follow, and we're really responsible on what we need and stuff that way.
Do you ever have those guys in the league come to you with an idea and you're just like, hell no, we can't do that? There's
no crazy ideas, but that's the best part, right? Like the league, and you look at all the guys around the league, they all do an amazing job of what they do. They all love what they do. So anything that we can think of, whether it's how we move our nets or how we're, setting up the trucks, and we've changed things. I remember my first outdoor game back in Calgary, our tarps were the old, the orange construction tarps, insulated. Yeah. That's what we first used, and it kind of looked like a mismatch of tarps, and then we threw 2x4s on the rink. It looked like a mess, right? So then I think Mike and Dan, they researched our reflective tarp that reflects the sun, and we did that game in LA. I still remember it was 110 on top of the tarps, and we were 18 degrees Fahrenheit under the tarps.
Unbelievable.
So the tarps did what they needed to do, right? And we've been using them every year. And then we were still throwing 2x4s, and it just looked kind of ridiculous.
Janky,
how this, Jenga, right? Yeah. So now we've painted the 2x4, so you can't really see it. So we're always looking at different ways. We've got a eye on the ice monitoring system, so we'll put actual sensors in the ice, which will give us our temperature on the pans, the aluminum pans, and then we'll get, we can read through our IR guns, infrared guns, what our surface temperatures are, and then the temperatures coming from the truck. So we'll try and fine-tune those trucks prior to game day, but all the different stuff that we have is.
So the science of it is just such a major part. It's not so much, I'm sure there's a little bit of a trial and error part, but the science part has gone through the roof.
But how much has that changed for you, especially over the last, let's say just in the last 10 years, as opposed to when you started doing these 30-plus games ago?
Yeah, it definitely helps. It kind of makes things easier. Now we can watch the trucks at night, what's going on. We can dial in. We'll watch the trucks on our iPads if we need to make a change. We have a Simcoe technician here. His job, he's another Winnipegger, so his job is you just got to worry about the trucks, right? We have a pretty big ice crew as well. There's probably going to be 20 of us here, but we're not all just ice makers, because we'd probably kill one another spending all this time. So everyone's kind of got their specialty. We've got pipe fitters on staff. We've got an electrician. We've got welders. So, coming to a venue like this, Raymond James, they've been amazing. They've been really helpful with helping us with water connections and where we can park and power. But we're all kind of jack of all trades, that if something comes up and we know we need to be more self-sufficient, we definitely can be.
Is all of this equipment, like the floorboards and all the things that you guys, bring in for these, is this all housed in the same spot, like in Toronto? It's just warehouses that you bring to every single city?
Yeah, so the hockey boards, our floor, the glass, that goes back to our warehouse. But the field covering that BAM Productions was putting together, that's all rented. The stage decks are rented.
Okay.
So it's the same equipment we'll use from game to game, but We're just getting it from different places.
Okay, that was my next question. If you, like you said, the money involved, is the league like, no, we're gonna buy it all ourselves and we own it, and that way we don't have to outsource it when we go to markets, but it might be more cost effective to outsource.
Well, it's just the space, right? Like our warehouse
true,
up in Oakville, we've got the 2 trailers inside, 2 sets of boards, 2 sets of glass, all of our tools, and along with a lot of other stuff that the BAM has in there. So it's quite a bit. And then all the trailers, our floor, 241 ice pans. So we've got 4 containers just for our floor. So that stuff starts to add up.
Yeah.
You got local rinks around the area knocking on your door, like trying to pick your brain as well. I'm sure that the guys down at Benchmark are.
Benchmark's going to be great. We're going to have Pat Jesso and Allie Murdoch. They run that building down there, so they're going to join us.
Yep.
They've done a bunch of games with us.
Yes, they have.
And it's always great to get the local people involved where we can. So we've got a few of their ice crew as well joining us on game day. We're all getting a little older, so we don't want to skate. So it's nice to get the youngins out.
So can both warm weather and cold weather, or if it's too warm or let's say it's too cold, can both conditions sometimes make the ice like pitty and grainy at times?
Oh, absolutely.
So either way of it can go.
Either way. So too cold for us, right? You'll kind of get you'll get the ice is going to be cracking. It'll be a lot more ruddy, which is what we don't want. What we do have those pretty neat is we have a heater in line coming off our truck, so we'll actually heat the glycol if we need to, and we'll warm up the ice.
Okay.
Right, and you don't really think of that outdoor game. You got to warm it up, but if you think back to Calgary, right, that we were dealing with some pretty extreme temperatures there.
Tahoe too, right? You had issues with, was that sunlight related? It was
Tahoe
it
was that
sunlight.
big globe in the sky, and it was cloudy all around the rink, right, around the stadium, and the sun was just there, and the clouds wouldn't help us at all. So we kind of went the other way, and if you look at what sun does for us, is sun is attracted to all those colors in the ice.
Okay.
So where you've got your hockey markings and your logos, that's where it does the most damage. It'll really melt that area quick.
And so when you do recognize a spot like that, like a big divot or a hole developing in the ice, I remember back to my time, they come out with the fire extinguishers and they're packing it with snow.
Fire extinguishers is not a good sign, so we want to start off with a small repair. We'll have the buckets of slush, right, and kind of our freeze cans there that we'll use. And only if it's really necessary, we'll pull out the fire extinguisher. But for the most part, for us, we've been pretty lucky the last number of games. Haven't really had any ice issues that we need to deal with. So we're hoping it's going to be the same here in Tampa.
What's been was Tahoe your biggest moment like in your career? Like that whole circumstance with everything, was that like where it's out of your control? Like we've done everything. And, like
Tahoe was like the worst nightmare. Right, like it was amazing, right? Like with everything.
The look was it was fantastic.
Beautiful to be where we were to to go build that rink on the golf course, the 18th hole. It was amazing,
right?
And then getting into game day, and I remember we had our weather meeting, and you've got like Gary and Bill and everyone's there. And I bug my boss now, Chris and Coley. I say it's their fault. It's one of the first outdoor games that those two have missed, and we had our first delay. So it wasn't my fault, but it was just, you're talking to everyone, and you have a plan in place, and then you go out, and then just to see how things kind of went for a loop there during warm-up and the first period, and talk to the players. The players were great. Like, they understood. It was out of our control.
100%.
You talk to the officials, and then just having to make that call, we're going to pause, and then we're going to kind of regroup. And to talk through that with Gary, he was there. A pretty stressful moment, but he was really good. Like, he said, okay, how much time do you need? And I'm like, I need 20 minutes to think about a plan. And he goes, okay, we'll talk in 20 minutes. And we went off, and a bunch of us kind of just regrouped. And all right, I think it was a 9 p.m. start. And we're like, okay, we need till 9. And went back, talked to Gary, and he's like, okay, you've got till 9. And away we went. And then getting through the game, things were totally different. Sun's off. And it was a beautiful setting at night. Right. To be on the lake to see it. Yeah, it was beautiful. So to be able to do that, I still haven't watched the game.
I was going to say, do you even get a chance to enjoy these events, or not really? Like, have you even watched any of them, really?
I haven't really watched. No, I haven't watched too many of them. And you'll catch little highlights and stuff like that. But I think the enjoying part for me is just working with everyone that I get to work with, right? From the guys that we'll see throughout the season, we'll do, 2 or 3 outdoor games. We're kind of like a little traveling family because we're from all over. We got guys from the U.S., guys from Canada. We're together for 3 weeks, so you've got to get along with everyone.
For sure.
And then just everyone from the group, from band productions, the rest of the league, all of our departments. It's a pretty cool job to have.
So when the ice goes in, how many times do the guys got to skate on it, or does somebody have to skate on it to kind of get it ready to play an NHL game on it?
Yeah, and that's a pretty good point you brought up. Like we definitely want to get some skates on it so it gets broken in. You don't want the guys hitting a fresh sheet of ice. We call it green ice. Unfortunately for us here, we're not really going to have that opportunity with the whole tent being in place. So our focus right now is obviously practice day for the players to get them on. It's going to be a little different. They'll be skating inside of a tent, but it's really just the feel of the ice and the boards, the glass. It's a little different. Same board, same acrylic that they'd have it benchmarked, but it's just a different feeling. You're obviously on a stage deck, so the ice is raised up. You're not skating on a concrete floor with ice on that. So there are some differences. And then, again, unfortunately, game day, tent's coming down. Now you're going to be outside, but it's going to be pretty spectacular on game day.
Do you find the things that are out of your control, like shadows on the ice based upon, lighting configurations and things of that nature, even as a player? I would assume that some of those things can affect the game on the ice, but again, that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. If you look where the lighting trusses are here, they're so far back, they're not over top like they are in an arena. But our tech ops groups, they do an amazing job with everything from running power from the start and all the cabling that they have to do and everything that they've got to set up. We'll have lighting consultants come in and we'll take a look at the rink, and it's no different than I was talking earlier with what we have to do for player puck tracking and our DED calibrations. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the game. Then I know that the focus is the rink and the ice,
right?
But if you look behind the scenes, it's absolutely amazing what all the groups do, even from like our hotel group, right? Like you got Gasparilla coming up, and then now we've got all of us in the city, and they're trying to find us hotels and then transportation stuff. So everyone just does an amazing job.
Absolutely. They do.
Truly. I think as a player, one of the things that was so unique about playing an outdoor game was, one, the sight lines.
Yeah.
Like the people are so much further back.
Right.
The sounds are different. You have like, just
roar of the crowd's different.
Because in the stadium, everything kind of echoes around. And then, especially when we played in Philadelphia, it was the wind.
That's right. I remember that game.
Into the wind.
Yeah.
It was like, I think in the third period we actually played 10 on one side, 10 on the other.
We flipped it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just so unique. It was kind
variables. It changes it up.
And like you said, as a player, you're like, I understand. Like I understand how special this is that I get to participate in this and do this, regardless of what's going on. With the uncontrollables.
No, that's right. And two, for us, we really want you guys, the players, not have to worry about stuff. So, we'll really dial in everything that we can, from the stage decking to how the boards and glass are set up, to how the benches are set up, the walkways, because, the long walks on the rubber matting, so making sure that's all clean. We really just want the guys to have to worry about the game, and, we'll do the best that we can do on that game day.
What do you say, because we hear it a lot down here in Florida, to the haters out there, as we'll call them, that forever want to talk smack about Southern teams have poor ice conditions. What do you say to those individuals, Mr. Manitoba?
You know what? I think, obviously you got to look at the venues, how busy they are. They're not just a hockey rink. They're an entertainment facility. So you've got concerts coming in, you got hockey games, you've got a circus coming in, you got a trade show. Those are multi-purpose venues. The Southern market thing, it doesn't hold true anymore. You look at what goes into the buildings when they're being built, and when they've got to meet our standard of temperature and humidity. You look at the player areas, dressing rooms, and stuff like that. It's top-notch facilities. The staff that all of them have, if it's here in Tampa with Patrick and Allie, they're doing the best that they have.
For sure.
Right? So I don't really think that's the case anymore.
You mentioned humidity. So obviously this is a big part of your job, but I imagine come playoff time depending on where the games are, the series are, you get called in for those as well. Because I've noticed a lot of times that the buildings have an extra conditioning, dehumidifying system that they'll hook up. You'll see it kind of in the compound as you drive in. And
Well, and a lot of those buildings, here in Tampa, they know that once they're in those shoulder seasons, if it's early fall or it's late spring and they're doing that playoff run, they already know that they need to bring in the equipment. They've got that plan in place. So for us, it's more just obviously we're working with the buildings. We're there to kind of look after some of the finer details, to just let the building operators worry about what they need to worry about. We'll worry about some of the game stuff, helping them out. But those guys do an amazing job in all the markets.
Not that I want to I don't want to bury anyone, but the worst ice that I've ever seen in the NHL.
Here we go.
It was probably, it's not due to like the ice makers or whatever. It's just the building, but it was the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. It was just I don't know if it was just set lower or in
I think it was just I think Barclays was just a unique building. It wasn't really. I don't know if it was constructed for hockey. I remember the center hung was not dead center in the venue. But again, it's just what those buildings are turning around day after day. Basketball, hockey, concert. That's pretty tough on a building and the staff.
So again, I've been a part of a lot of these events, and it blows my mind again the amount of signage and props and just the build. Right, everything is unique to that particular event, that Stadium Series, that Winter Classic, if you will. And so you guys put so much time and energy into those things. What happens with those items, the props, the unique items that you guys create, the signage? There's so much that goes into it. Is that stuff recyclable? Do you guys auction that stuff up? Do you give it up to the teams to give away to their fans? Like, what happens to all that
stuff? I think
stuff?
a lot of that stuff will go back to the team. So obviously here at Raymond James, I think a lot of the signage will stay with them. The props that we're going to bring in, those will be for game day, but those are going to go back. So I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be pretty.
Are you a sentimental guy? Do you take a memento from each game? For your man cave, it's Winnipeg. It's man basement.
Yeah, no, man basement.
The man cave. I have a logo from every outdoor game that I've worked, so that's kind of my thing. But there's so much stuff. Like I think my wife would kill me with all the stuff that I bring home.
Somebody on
my
Reddit,
boys like their pucks, so they'll get a game
for
puck.
Living room.
Somebody on Reddit asked, and I wanted to know if you even saw this. They said, Derek, do you collect water from all the rinks that you've worked on and keep them in little jars? And would you consider putting all the rink water into a waterbed once you retire?
No, my waterbed days are over. But no, I know Fanatics, they do the game pucks, or little Stanley Cup pucks, which are pretty cool. I personally don't collect the water, no.
Maybe you should have done that 30 years ago. I've been pretty awesome.
That would have been a good thing.
Great idea.
I wouldn't be here if I did that.
So your international travel, have you been over to Italy recently?
What's your thoughts on that? Are we not allowed to talk about that?
It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic right now.
It's definitely a hot topic. I think it's going to be exciting for the players. It's been a while since our NHL players have been in those Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of challenges over there, but things are shaping up. They're getting ready. Building a new building. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes and stuff that they don't really have control on. So I know everyone over there is doing everything they can to be ready.
Are you brushing up on your Italian?
I've got my little cheat sheet, yes.
Well, listen, we know you have work to do. We've taken enough of your time, but we cannot wait to see what this is going to look like literally in like a week. You guys are getting the sneak peek because this is going to drop tomorrow. So we thank you so much, Derek, for taking the time. And again, you're 30.
Thank you.
What number is this now?
33.
33rd outdoor game for Mr. Derek King, your NHL Vice President of Hockey Operations, the 2026 NHL Stadium Series, your Tampa Bay Lightning, Boston Bruins right here. We're making history. First time in a Florida outdoor football stadium. It's never happened before. This is the guy who's helping make it happen, and we thank you, Derek.
All right, thank you, guys. No, it's going to be great. Looking forward to game day.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much again for tuning into another episode of the Bolts Block Party powered by Highlight IPA. We cannot wait to see you here for the Stadium Series on February 1st. We'll see you then.